Once upon a time, there was a family of 3 bears. There was a papa bear, a mama bear, and a baby bear. They all lived in a small cottage in the forest. One morning, they were eating breakfast, and Baby Bear shouted, "This porridge is too hot!" So Mama Bear said, "Let's go for a walk until the porridge is just right." On the edge of the same forest lived a little girl with long golden hair. Her name was Goldilocks. She loved nature and she loved to play outside. One day, Goldilocks decided to explore the forest. However, she walked so far that she got lost. Goldilocks was frightened, but then she saw a small cottage. Goldilocks knocked on the door, but no one answered. She decided to go inside. Goldilocks saw 1, 2, 3 bowls on the table. She was very hungry. Goldilocks ate from the big bowl. "This porridge is too hot." Goldilocks ate from the medium bowl. "This porridge is too cold." Goldilocks ate from the small bowl. "This porridge is just right." Then Goldilocks ate all the porridge. Goldilocks saw 1, 2, 3 chairs. She was very tired. Goldilocks sat in the big chair. "This chair is too high." Goldilocks sat in the middle chair. "This chair is too soft." Goldilocks sat in the little chair. "This chair is just right." But it was too small, and it broke. "Oh, no," said Goldilocks. Goldilocks was still tired, so she went into the bedroom. Goldilocks saw 1, 2, 3 beds. Goldilocks sat on the big bed. "This bed is too hard." Goldilocks sat on the middle bed. "This bed is too soft." Goldilocks sat on the little bed. "This bed is just right." Then she fell fast asleep. The 3 bears arrived home. Baby Bear said, "I'm hungry." They went to the table. Papa Bear shouted, "Someone has been eating my porridge." Mama Bear shouted, "Someone has been eating my porridge." Baby Bear cried, "My porridge is all gone." Papa Bear saw his chair and shouted, "Someone has been sitting in my chair." Mama Bear saw her chair and shouted, "Someone has been sitting in my chair." Baby Bear saw his chair and cried, "My chair is broken." Papa Bear was very angry and shouted, "They must be in the bedroom." So the 3 bears went into the bedroom. Papa Bear shouted, "Someone has been sleeping in my bed." Mama Bear shouted, "Someone has been sleeping in my bed." Then Baby Bear cried, "Someone is in my bed." Goldilocks opened her eyes and saw the 3 bears standing over her. They all looked very upset. Baby Bear shouted, "Why are you in my bed?" Goldilocks screamed and jumped out of the bed. The 3 bears chased Goldilocks around the bedroom, into the kitchen, and out the door. Goldilocks ran away and never came back again. Once upon a time, there was a little boy called Jack. He lived in the forest with his mother. They were very poor. All they had was a cow. One day, Jack's mother said, "Jack, you must take the cow to the market and sell her." On the way to the market, Jack met a man. He said to Jack, "I will give you 5 magic beans for your cow." Jack said, "What can I do with 5 beans?" The man smiled. "They will make you very rich." Jack decided to exchange the cow for the beans. When Jack arrived home, he gave the beans to his mother. She was very angry. "Beans? What can I do with beans?" Jack's mother threw the beans out of the window. Jack cried. "But they were magic beans!" His mother shouted, "There is no such thing as magic!" The next day, Jack went out into the yard. The beans had grown into a huge beanstalk. Jack started to climb up the beanstalk. Finally, Jack reached the top of the beanstalk and saw a castle. He headed for the door. He went inside and met a giant woman. She said in a loud voice, "Hello, little boy." Then she said in a soft voice, "Shh, come with me. My husband is an angry giant, and he doesn't like strangers." They went into the kitchen. Jack hid inside the oven, and the giant arrived. The woman said, "Hello, dear. Here's your dinner." The giant had a bag full of coins. He ate his food quickly. Then he started to count the coins. The giant smiled as he counted each coin in the bag. After so much counting and a huge dinner, the giant fell asleep. Jack climbed out of the oven and ran to the door. The giant woman ran after Jack with the bag full of coins. "Take these coins and buy some food for you. Hurry, before my husband wakes up." Jack quickly climbed down the beanstalk. When Jack arrived home, his mother said, "Where have you been?" Jack smiled. "I climbed up the beanstalk and saw a giant." Jack gave his mother the bag of gold coins. She shouted with happiness, "Now we can buy some food at the market." The next day, Jack climbed back up the beanstalk and sneaked back into the castle. He heard the angry giant shouting, "Grrr! Someone stole my coins, but I still have my treasure." Jack could see a hen in front of the giant and a big golden egg coming out of the hen. There were many golden eggs all around the hen. Jack waited until the giant fell asleep at the table. Then Jack grabbed the hen and ran towards the beanstalk. The giant chased Jack down the beanstalk. Jack was smaller and faster than the giant. He shouted, "Mother, come and help me!" Jack and his mother cut down the beanstalk with an axe. The giant had to climb up back to the castle. Jack and his mother took care of the hen, and they shared the golden eggs with all the village. Nobody ever went hungry again.
Once upon a time, there were 3 little rabbits who lived with their mother. One spring day, the rabbits decided to leave their home to build homes of their own. The first rabbit met a farmer riding down the road in a wagon full of straw. He shouted out to the farmer, "Good day, kind sir! Could you give me some straw so I could build myself a fine home?" The farmer stopped the wagon and gave him a pile of straw. The first little rabbit built his house out of straw and invited his 2 brothers to come and see it. "Do you like my house?" he asked. The 2 brothers looked at it and said, "It is very nice, but we don't think it is very strong." The first little rabbit answered, "It doesn't have to be strong. I am finished, and now I can play." The second little rabbit met a lumberjack riding down the road in a wagon full of wood. He waved at the lumberjack and said, "Good day to you, sir. Could you give me some wood so I could build myself a fine home?" The lumberjack stopped the wagon and gave the second little rabbit a pile of wood. The second little rabbit built his house out of wood and invited his 2 brothers to come and see it. "Do you like my house?" he asked. The 2 brothers looked at it and said, "It is very nice, but we don't think it is very strong." The second little rabbit answered, "It doesn't have to be strong. I am finished, and now I can play." The third little rabbit met a bricklayer riding down the road in a wagon full of bricks. He ran up to the wagon and said, "Good morning, sir. Could you give me some bricks so I could build myself a fine home?" The bricklayer stopped his wagon and gave the third little rabbit a pile of bricks. The third little rabbit worked hard building his house of bricks. When he had finished, he invited his 2 brothers over to see his new house. "Do you like my new house?" he asked. They looked at the house and said, "It is very strong, but it took a long time to build. Summer is almost over, and you did not have much time to play." The third little rabbit answered, "Sometimes work is more important than play." Winter came to the land of the 3 little rabbits. A big wolf was hungry and wanted to eat. He came to the door of the first little rabbit, who lived in a house of straw. He knocked on the door and said, "Let me in!" The first little rabbit shouted, "You can't come in! You can't come in! Not by the hair of my chin. The wolf growled, "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in." The big bad wolf huffed and puffed and blew the straw house to pieces. The little rabbit raced to the second little rabbit's home. The big bad wolf ran after the little rabbit and reached the house made of wood. He knocked on the door and said, "Let me in!" The second little rabbit shouted, "You can't come in! You can't come in! Not by the hair of my chin. The wolf growled, "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in." The big bad wolf huffed and puffed and blew the wooden house to pieces. The little rabbits raced to the third little rabbit's home. The big bad wolf ran after the little rabbits and reached the house made of brick. He knocked on the door and said, "Let me in!" The third little rabbit shouted, "You can't come in! You can't come in! Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin!" The wolf growled, "Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in!" He huffed and puffed, huffed and puffed, huffed and puffed, but couldn't blow down the brick house. The big bad wolf decided to try another way to get into the house. He climbed on the roof and jumped down the chimney. The three little rabbits were waiting for him with a pot of hot, boiling water. The big bad wolf fell into the steaming water and shouted, "Ouch!" He got up and ran out of the house and was never seen again. The three little rabbits danced around the strong brick house, singing and laughing with joy.
The little red hen lived on a farm with her friends, a sleepy, sleepy dog, a lazy, lazy cat, and a pretty, pretty duck. One day, she found some seeds under a big flower. She thought, maybe if I plant these seeds, they can grow into wheat. Then I can make bread for myself and my friends. Buck, 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 buck. Who can help me plant the seeds? Asked the little red hen. Not I, barked the sleepy dog. Meow, not I, purred the lazy cat. Quack, quack, not I, quacked the pretty duck. I will do it myself, said the little red hen, and she did. When the seeds had grown and turned into golden wheat, the little red hen asked, "Who can help me cut the wheat?" Not I, barked the sleepy dog. Meow, not I, purred the lazy cat. Quack, not I, quacked the pretty duck. I will do it myself, said the little red hen, and she did. When the little red hen had cut all the wheat, she asked, "Who can help me take the wheat to the mill?" Not I, barked the sleepy dog. Meow, not I, purred the lazy cat. Quack, not I, quacked the pretty duck. I will do it myself, said the little red hen, and she did. When the little red hen came back from the mill with the wheat ground into flour, she asked, "Who can help me bake the bread?" Not I, barked the sleepy dog. Meow, not I, purred the lazy cat. Quack, not I, quacked the pretty duck. I will do it myself, said the little red hen, and she did. When the tasty bread was finished, the little red hen asked, "Who will help me eat the bread?" I can, barked the sleepy dog, purred the lazy cat, and quacked the pretty duck at the same time. No, said the little red hen. I will do it myself. And she did. Alice is resting under a tree with her cat. She's bored because nothing interesting ever happens to her. Suddenly, she sees the strangest thing, a talking rabbit with a watch. I'm late for a very important date. He keeps repeating. He runs past Alice and then into a hole in the ground. Alice jumps inside the hole and arrives at a small door. Through the keyhole, she sees the rabbit in a beautiful garden. But she is too big to fit through the door, and she starts to cry. As she cries, she becomes smaller and smaller until she ends up in a river of tears. Alice swims to the door to the garden, and she meets a mouse and a dodo bird also swimming towards the door. They finally land in the beautiful garden. The mouse and the dodo bird say goodbye and disappear. Alice sees the white rabbit and follows him inside his house. She drinks water from a bottle and grows as tall as a tree. The rabbit gives Alice a piece of cake that makes her small again. The rabbit runs off to the garden again, and Alice runs after him. As she runs through the flowers and the trees, she sees an enormous mushroom. Sitting on the top of the mushroom, she sees a rather large blue caterpillar. The caterpillar looks at Alice and asks, "Who are you? Where are you going?" Alice tells the caterpillar her name and asks about the white rabbit. She continues walking down the path and suddenly sees a huge cat with a grin on his face. Alice inquires about the white rabbit, and the grinning cat tells Alice about a tea party. "Everyone is at the Mad Hatter's tea party," he says. Alice arrives at the party, and she meets the Mad Hatter and the March Hare. They both wear large hats. The Hatter asks Alice why she does not wear a hat. Alice decides it's time to go because she has no hat. Alice arrives back at the beautiful garden. 3 cards are painting the roses red. "Why are you painting the roses red?" asks Alice.
The Queen hates white roses. We have to paint them red, or she will chop off our heads.
Alice hears loud trumpet sounds and sees the Queen entering the garden. The Queen looks very angry and shouts, "Off with her head!" Alice is about to answer the Queen, but she sees the white rabbit running towards her. "Wait!" shouts Alice. "Where are you going?" The rabbit runs towards a hole in the ground, and Alice follows. She begins to fall and fall and fall. Alice wakes up under a tree next to her cat. Alice shakes her head and says, "What an exciting adventure! It was all a dream." A long time ago, there lived a man called Geppetto. He was old and lived by himself. He had no family of his own. Geppetto was a carpenter. He loved to make things out of wood. One day, Geppetto decided to make a puppet out of wood. He said, "I will make a little boy. I will call him Pinocchio." First, Geppetto made some wooden legs. Then he made some arms. After that, he made the body, and he added hands and feet. Finally, he made a little boy's head. Geppetto made Pinocchio's eyes, mouth, and nose. Then he made his ears. Geppetto worked all day and all night on his wooden puppet. He said to himself, "I wish Pinocchio were a real boy." A fairy heard Geppetto's wish. She decided to grant his wish and make the wooden puppet come to life. She said to Pinocchio, "You must promise to be a good and honest boy." The next day, Geppetto was very happy to hear Pinocchio talk. He loved his wooden son very much. Geppetto smiled. "Now you can go to school with all the other little boys." At school, Pinocchio saw that all the other children had real arms and legs. They were not made of wood. He was different. Pinocchio didn't like school. He didn't like doing his homework. His teacher asked, "Where is your homework, Pinocchio?" He lied. "A whale ate it." Every time he lied, his nose grew longer. Pinocchio didn't like that he was different from the other boys. One day, he was angry and pushed another boy over. His teacher asked, "Did you push him over, Pinocchio?" Pinocchio lied. "It wasn't me." Every time he lied, his nose grew longer. One day, Pinocchio decided to hide from his teacher. He hid inside a big toy box, but he couldn't get back out. He shouted, "Somebody help me!" The fairy appeared. "Why are you hiding, Pinocchio?" Pinocchio started to lie. His wooden nose grew longer and longer. His nose grew as long as a tree branch. The fairy said, "Why are you lying?" Pinocchio cried, "I'm sorry. I promise to never lie again." The fairy smiled. "You can see a lie as easy as you can see the nose on your face." The fairy decided to help Pinocchio one last time. She set him free. Pinocchio came out of the toy box. His teacher asked, "Why were you hiding in the toy box, Pinocchio?" Pinocchio told the truth. "I don't like being different." The teacher smiled and said, "We are all different from each other. That is what makes the world an interesting place to live." Pinocchio decided that it wasn't so bad being different. He started to play with the other children. Pinocchio went home to Geppetto. Pinocchio told Geppetto about his new friends at school. The fairy saw how Pinocchio had changed. She decided to turn him into a real boy. Pinocchio and Geppetto lived happily ever after. A long time ago, there lived a little mermaid under the sea. The little mermaid's best friend was a dolphin. His name was Finn. They loved to watch the ships go by. One day, they were watching a ship go by when the little mermaid said, "Let's swim closer." Finn was scared. "It's dangerous. What if they see us?" The little mermaid smiled. "They won't see us. Come on." They swam closer to the ship. The little mermaid looked up. She saw a tall prince standing on the ship's deck. He was laughing with the other sailors. The little mermaid whispered to Finn, They look like they are having so much fun. The little mermaid wished she could have a human friend. The clouds started to change from blue to gray. Finn frowned.
We should go home. There's a storm coming.
The little mermaid looked up at the sky. The sound of thunder echoed. The waves got bigger and bigger, and the sky got darker. It started to rain. The ship rocked up and down. The ship rocked all around. Suddenly, the ship started to sink. The little mermaid was worried.
We have to help him.
She swam and swam until she found the prince. He was drowning. Finn and the little mermaid helped the prince to shore. The prince was cold and tired. He thought he was dreaming. The little mermaid said to Finn,
I want to see the prince again.
Finn frowned.
You are a mermaid, not a human.
The little mermaid looked at her tail.
I wish I had legs.
She felt sad. In the deep sea, there lived a strange sea creature. Her name was Odessa, and she had magic powers. One day, the little mermaid went to see her. The little mermaid said,
Please, help me. I wish to have legs like a human. I want to see the prince again.
Odessa gave the little mermaid a magic potion. Suddenly, her fishtail turned into legs. Odessa said, You will have legs for 1 day only. The little mermaid didn't know how to swim with her new legs. Finn helped her onto the shore. He frowned and said,
I'm going to miss you.
The little mermaid smiled. I promise I'll be back when the clock strikes 12. The little mermaid saw the prince playing with his dog. The prince saw her and said, You were the girl that saved me. They talked for hours and hours. The little mermaid told him all about her life under the sea. The prince told her all about his life on land. The clock struck 12, and the little mermaid's legs turned back into a fin. The prince helped her into the water. She asked him, Will you visit me in your ship one day? The prince smiled and said, Please, visit me on the shore. The little mermaid was happy. She had made a human friend. Once upon a time, there was a smart and kind little girl named Red Riding Hood. She lived with her mother on the edge of the woods. One day, Little Red Riding Hood's mother called her and said, I want you to take these cakes to your grandmother, who is not feeling well today. Red Riding Hood was happy to help her mother and said that she would go to the other side of the woods to her grandmother's house. On the way through the dark forest, she was stopped by a wolf. He asked her,
Where are you going today?
Red Riding Hood would not tell the wolf and bravely ran past him on her way to her grandmother's house. The wolf was smart and knew that the only house on the other side of the forest belonged to an old lady. So he ran ahead through a shortcut and reached the grandmother's house first. When the grandmother saw the wolf, she ran out of her house to look for help. The wolf jumped into her bed and put on her nightcap that he found on the floor. When Red Riding Hood arrived, she was surprised to see her grandmother in bed with the covers up to her face. She said,
"Oh, Grandmother, what big eyes you have!"
"All the better to see you with, my dear,"
said the wolf.
"Oh, Grandmother, what big ears you have!"
"All the better to hear you with, my dear,"
said the wolf.
"Oh, Grandmother, what big teeth you have!"
"All the better to eat you with,"
cried the wolf as he jumped out of the bed. Red Riding Hood got ready to hit the wolf over the head. At that moment, Grandmother and a woodsman came running into the room and chased the wolf out of the house. The wolf ran and ran and was never to be seen again.